Hey guys, Mark Lyon here, Lion Horses Today for our Friday philosophy. I've got a little, I guess, little horse philosophy that I'm going to run past you. And when I teach clinics or work with people, I really try to teach them principles rather than maybe exercises. I don't like to tell them, hey, just do this. I tell them why the horse is doing that and some things they could do to make the horse operate differently. And the reason I like doing that is because if I tell them, hey, just do this, that may work in that situation, but it may not work in another situation where, it looks like the same thing is happening. So it's important to know why the horse is doing it and some stuff like that. And I tell people it's a little bit like laws of physics. Laws of physics are all the same. So even though we know that, we know there's several ways to build a bridge. And so you could build a suspension bridge, or you could build a structure that's more planks and beams with some supports underneath it. And which one we decide to use is going to depend a little bit on the terrain and some stuff like that, and then also the materials we have at hand and our experience with that. So same thing with horses. And so the first thing we need to know is some basic principles. And today I'm going to go over a couple of those principles. And what I tell people is there are let's maybe start at the bottom of the structure and say, why is the horse doing that? We're asking the horse to do something and he's not doing it, or we're watching the horse, or the horse does something, and first thing I tell people or ask people is, why is he doing that? And there are two basic reasons why the horse is doing that. And number one is that's the way God made him. His instinct says you should do that. And so we don't have to teach the horse some things. If he feels constrained, he will pull against that. If he felt trapped, he'll try to jerk his leg away from that. If you grab him around the head, he's going to try to pull away. And so that opposition reflex is something that God put in there. That's a natural instinct. Nobody trained him to do that. He wasn't taught how to do that. That's just something that is instinctually in him. So that's the one reason why the horse may do something like that. And then the other reason is it's a learned behavior. So maybe he was taught it. Maybe somebody taught him to do that, or maybe it's just something that he learned by experimentation. So horses, they go underneath a tree when it's hot out, or they'll stand behind some bushes or some sort of windbreak when the wind is cold, from a learned behavior. It's hot and they go underneath the tree and it's shady there, and it's like, oh man, it's cooler here. So that's a learned behavior. You'll see some horses, they'll paw when they want to get a drink and maybe it's moist there, or the water's not very deep, and they'll paw a hole and they'll paw down. Maybe the water's just underneath the sand a little bit, and they'll go to the bottom of the creek bed wherever it's moist, and then they'll dig a hole with their foot, and as they kind of paw that ground, they'll move the dirt away, and then the water will kind of fill in that hole and they'll take a drink. And so that's learned behavior. They do something, it works for them, and so they get some positive reinforcement for it. So that's something that they do. So when we're working on a horse, one of the basic, most fundamental principles that I try to teach people is, why is the horse doing it? Is it something that is an instinct in him, or is it something that he's learned works? And both of them can be right. It may not be the one we want. If a horse, let's say we've tied him up with a halter that wasn't very good, or a rope that wasn't very good, and he pulled away and broke it, or just pulled the rope from our hands, or just pulled away a little bit, and we go, well, why is he pulling away? Well, he learned it. Part of it's maybe it was rooted in a natural instinct, and then also we've maybe exacerbated that problem and made it worse, or continued to make it work. And so maybe yeah, a lot of problems are a little bit of both, and we have to kind of figure out, is that a learned behavior? Is it a behavior that's a natural instinct for the horse, or is it a little bit of both? And maybe it started out as an instinct, and then we've made it worse, or maybe we've made it better. And so, anyway, just something to think about when you're working with your horses. That's something that we need to take into account, and also when we're dealing with people. You know, if a person is scared of something or worried about something, you know, some of it could be a natural phenomenon that, you know, most people are a little scared of snakes. I'm not particularly scared of snakes, but if I see if a villain surprises me, I'll jump back a little bit. And so, not that I'm super afraid of it, but it surprised me, and so you jump away. And so, other people, they've had not a good encounter with snakes, or they haven't learned how to cope with that, and so they're still worried about it. So it could be a little bit of both a natural instinct and a learned behavior. So as we deal with people and also our horses, take that into account, figure out how to best approach that situation and how to best work through it. So remember, we're all trying to be the person our horse deserves, and hope this helps.